Hello, everyone. This is Rebecca, and I'm here with Pamela, Adam, and Amanda. We are Lightworkers Secrets to Success, and we like to get together every Monday evening. And tonight we're going to have a discussion about how to overcome fear. One of the things that I was meditating on this week, and I heard it expressed by some people, you cannot manifest, heal yourself, or be at peace if you have fear in your consciousness. It blocks your ability to connect with your higher self. So it's very, very important to try to figure out what you're afraid of. Sometimes it's buried in your subconscious, and sometimes it's in your face. But if you can figure out what you're afraid of and then find a way to overcome fear, it will free you so that you can live your life more abundantly and have amazing things happen to you, be in the flow, and experience a way to live in this dimension probably way ahead of the pack, because as we look around planet Earth, we see a lot of fearful people right now, right? And I know Adam just traveled this past week. He just got back from Miami, so he has a little story to tell about being on the airplanes and traveling. And it's always good to raise your vibration and get rid of fear. Do you know, I practice spiritual healing, and the number one first thing you have to do if you want to heal yourself or heal someone else is allay the fear. Because that fear affects every cell in your body, and in a negative way. When you're at peace with yourself and you're relaxed, the fear dissolves away and you learn to handle it. And once you get rid of the fear, good things start happening again. So with that intro, why don't we go ahead and share some of our ideas on how to get rid of fear? Who'd like to go first?
Well, the one thing as you're talking, the one thing that helps me get through fear is breathing and literally centering and grounding and just breathing. I don't know about you guys, but I've had a ton of kids, and every labor and everything is really intense. And so I always, any kind of procedure I have to do or anything that's really super tough, I always say, this isn't going to kill me. It's going to just be over really quick. And before I know it will be over. And it will all be over and I'll be fine. It's not going to kill me. One of the things is, and if I'm really super scared, I'll start humming Amazing Grace, or I'll say the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Those are all really calming things for me. So those are my best top three things: humming Amazing Grace, saying the Lord's Prayer, and then just breathing and just literally going inside and say, you're going to be fine. This isn't going to kill you. It'll be over before you know it.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, one of the things I use along those lines is I was in a really scary situation. Usually it was airplane related. Sometimes it was things on the ground, but mostly up in, severe turbulence. I would say one with God is a majority. And I would feel that just knowing that would give me the power to allay the, make the airplane get smooth again or something. And it would always work out that way. But conviction, knowing that you can command.
I love that, Rebecca. Like, I've never heard that before. But so for me, like, fear this past weekend, I just got back from Miami. I flew in from Miami, and my wife and I were traveling, and I did not put on my mask. So I dropped her off at departures. We had to rent a car, and so she had all the luggage. And then I had to drop the rent-a-car off and come all the way through the airport. And I purposely didn't put my mask on. And so Florida is a state where masks are not required indoor, outdoors, anywhere. It's your choice if you want to wear it. And there was probably maybe a dozen people that I saw that didn't have masks on. And were just acting normal. I walked by many airport employees. I walked by many TSA agents. I walked by all these different people and never had an issue. Never, not one person even said, put your mask on, nothing. So, I mean, I wasn't fearful, but as soon as I got around my wife and I didn't have my mask on, she's like, put your mask on, put your mask on. And I'm like, no, I'm not putting my mask on. I'm not being fearful. And Amanda actually sent me a video on Instagram about, I don't know the guy's name, but he's a black guy and he didn't have his mask on. He was in Denver airport and he's been kicked off, all these different airlines already. And he's like, I don't care. I just keep coming to the airport. I travel for business. So, whatever, I'll just find a different airline if they're going to keep kicking me off and another airline will get my business. And so he was talking about he's not wearing his mask and then he gets on the plane and, sometimes he has it on and then he takes it off and just to kind of avoid the confrontation and no one says anything to him. And it's just like, we're growing up, right? The last 2 years, we've really experienced a lot of fear from the government on wear your mask, do this, take your vaccines, just everything is being forced. And it's nothing but fear. And I think even if you go back to like the 90s, when they had the terrorism threats, at, orange level and yellow and then red, it's just a constant barrage of fear. And if you're going to stay in that, is it really the best thing for you? Are you really going to get the things that you want in life? While we were gone, we live in Costa Rica. My wife was like, I'm so worried about the house. I'm so worried about this. And I'm like, and how's that working out for you? There's nothing you can do to change it. Why don't you enjoy the time that we're in Miami? Otherwise, you're going to get back to the house and you're going to say, I wish I was in Miami. And I tell you, I enjoyed every moment. There wasn't an ounce of fear in me because there's nothing I can do to change it anyways. If someone's going to break into the house, someone's going to break into the house, regardless if I have it under Fort Knox. If they really wanted to get in, they're going to get in. That's just the thing that, fear brings. And so, what Amanda said, for me, breathing, especially if I'm fearful about something, but for me, like, I don't get those normal types of fears. I get the fears of if I'm trying to promote myself or I'm trying to sell something online, or if then I get a little fearful where I'm just kind of putting myself out there. And that one's a lot harder to deal with. What I've really been doing is just putting it out there and saying, fuck it. I don't care if someone likes this or doesn't like it. I'm just totally going to be myself. I'm going to be in front of the camera and I'm just going to let it go from the heart. I'm not going to have a script. I'm just going to just let it go. And I think that word for me especially resonates really deep is let it go. When you're able to just release everything, you just have this freeing moment. I think just that, this way of being now where you're really connected back to source. And then then all that stuff doesn't matter. Whether you sell or you don't sell, it doesn't really matter anymore.
Living in the moment. That when you're in the moment, you really, like Eckhart Tolle loves to say, how do you feel when you're in the moment? Well, it is what it is. And there's no reason to be fearful. But you brought up an interesting point. It's so interesting in the times we're living in. Some people are afraid of getting sick. Some people are afraid of other people. Many people are afraid they might lose their jobs. Many people are afraid of government and, restrictive mandates that they're trying to impose on people. There's all kinds of things. You get to almost pick, or you could just say, why be afraid of any of it? It's like watching a crazy movie, right?
Exactly, right? And so living in the past or living in the future can create a lot of fear, but living in the here and now, this is the thing you can control. And Amanda and I just finished reading a book together called Money Isn't the Problem, You Are. And one of the things that he does, and I don't know if I could honestly do this, and I'm just going to be honest, he says to live life in 10-second increments.
Interesting. How do you do that?
Again, I don't know how I could do that, but if you think about it, if you were able to do that somehow and you were able to implement that into your life, it means you can't really ever make a mistake. You can't ever do anything that's wrong. And if you're just living in 10-second increments, well, everything you can just start over again really, really quickly if it's not going the way that you want, and just change it. Again, I don't know how you could do it. When I first read that, I'm like, it's an interesting concept. Maybe 5-minute increments or 10-minute increments might be more realistic. Or 15-minute increments might be more realistic. I've heard of that one. And actually that's through one of the authors, Lori Woodward. I was listening to a podcast of her, and she was actually talking about that, is writing down on a piece of paper what you do every 15 minutes of the day, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, and then look at it and see how productive your day actually was. And then if things weren't productive, say, I want to change that, I want to change that, I want to change that, and see how productive your day all of a sudden starts to become. So to me, those are ways to get around fear. Those are just techniques. And if those resonate with you, or that's something that you think you can implement in your life, then go ahead and do it. I honestly don't know. Maybe the 15-minute increment one I could probably do. I know when I was in retail and I was manager at retail, I would do the 15-minute one all day long. I was really, really good at it, where I had checkpoints at 15 minutes every hour on the hour to make sure that I was being productive.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that he was talking about in the book is if something's not going right, you have the opportunity to change it within 10 seconds. Like, you don't have to wait that 15, like, don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on a bad decision. Just, you have 10 seconds, change it. Right.
Well, that's a good technique too, because some people get into a fearful state and they can't shake it off for hours or days or years even. I mean, some people live in fear. Not a good place to be.
No, I mean, I couldn't imagine someone living in fear and having to go through something like that. Like, I don't know how you could get anything done. Like, again, just breathing, I think, is the most important. Pamela actually shared a really, really good video, and we should actually put this in the link, Pamela. If you haven't watched this video, it really resonated with me. And now that I'm more consciously aware of it, breathing through your nose more frequently than breathing through your mouth is very, very important, more so than what people even can comprehend on how important it is. And when you're able to slow down your breathing, you're able to get into a certain natural rhythm where your body will regulate the temperature that is around you more frequently and easier, so you don't overheat and you also don't get too cold where you got to wrap yourself in a blanket. The other thing that came from that TED Talk was when you're breathing through your nose, your mouth is closed. When your mouth is closed, your tongue sits on the roof of your mouth. Why is that important? It's important because it also helps straighten your teeth without you even realizing it. And I think for him, it also helped him with his asthma, to get rid of his asthma within weeks, I think it was, if I remember correctly. It was a really good video, a really good TED Talk. It wasn't very long, I think 28 minutes long or something like that. But again, another way to get past fear is if you're able to breathe, and you actually hear a lot of professional athletes talk about this, when they're having an amazing game or they've done something, when they're in the post-game interview, they'll say, it's like everything just slowed down for me. Everything got, the baseball got that much bigger where I could just see it differently. There's something that changes in them. And a lot of times they equate it to breathing properly and breathing through their nose and slowing down their breathing. When you're able to do that, you just get more productivity, you get more everything, right?
Oh yeah, breathing is very, very important. Well, I take it this person that did the TED Talk doesn't advocate wearing a mask all day long, right?
He didn't say, and I don't know when it was recorded, but who knows? Who knows if he does or he doesn't? But I would definitely say that he would probably not be for the masks because
Yeah.
I don't ever wear my mask above my nose. If someone tells me to put it up, I put it up for a second and then I put it down. It never goes over my nose. And I breathe through my nose probably 90% of the time anyways. I rarely ever breathe through my mouth.
Well, that was an interesting little disclosure about breathing. I saw a breatharian on YouTube yesterday who literally hasn't eaten any food for years. I mean, that's a trick. And it's all done with breathing and bringing in the prana into your body. He figured out how to do it. I think that's fascinating. He said he doesn't even drink liquids.
Yeah.
So amazing things we can do with our
breathing, I think, is the most important thing. And especially when you're in fear, just that's one way to get you around the fear.
Well, what do they tell people when they've had a bad experience? Take a deep breath, take a deep breath. You know, it's very important. And, you know, as a flight attendant on the airplane, if somebody was having an anxiety attack, which they used to do all the time in the 60s, people were so afraid of flying. They would be freaking out. It would, you know, that's why they hired young, beautiful women to be the bait. But they would come on the airplane and say, I'm scared to death. And, you know, if they started hyperventilating, you know, those blue bags that we have that you can throw up in, well, we'd have them breathe into it. So they would take in the carbon dioxide.
Yeah, exactly.
Their bodies, you know, calm down again. So, you know, if you're hyperventilating, you need to take in carbon dioxide. But if you're outside exercising or working all day, not a good thing.
Exactly.
So, Pamela, what insights do you have about fear?
One thing for me and for effectively my whole household, we totally have unplugged for years now. We don't watch the news. We don't watch that kind of stuff. We don't read the newspaper. So that in itself, I think, is a major thing. But when I get afraid, several years ago, probably, let me think. Wow. It's been almost 10 years ago. Alan and I, my heart and I, had gone to this weekend workshop. And at one piece of the workshop, they actually have these arrows and you put one against your throat. And that person holds it and you walk into it till it breaks. And you have to be really focused because if you're not paying attention, you could actually hurt yourself. And it was really interesting. Now, I couldn't do it with anybody except for him. I just didn't trust some stranger that I didn't know. Even though they're supposed to just be holding it, you're the one who's doing the momentum. But I was able to do it, and we still have the arrow somewhere that we both of us had done it and broke it. So that's one thing. When I start feeling that sense of fear, it's like, okay, wait a minute, I did that. You know, that could have seriously, you know, caused damage, and I managed to do that because your throat's very tender.
Right.
And
you literally broke the arrow.
It breaks the arrow in half. It will actually bend. So it's a wooden arrow, but it's got the point. It's got the sharpened, you know, point at the end. And it will actually, if you keep applying the pressure to it, it actually will bend and breaks. And so for me, when I get really, really afraid of something, and if the breathing, if I can't get close enough to it, I can focus on my breathing. If that's not helping, then I just kind of remind myself, I did that. I was able to do that. So if I can do that, this is nothing.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things. Well, if I manage to do that, I can do this.
Well, that's
and I think we've all had those things, right? You've all had things you've accomplished or done that at the time you didn't think you could. So if you can pick one of those things that you didn't believe you could accomplish and you did it, then that could be that kind of marker for you to say, okay, I did that. I was afraid and I overcame. I was an overcomer. I did that. and for someone else, it could be they had cancer. It could be, I mean, there's all kinds, it could be childbirth, like Amanda said. There's all kinds of things out there that we all have overcome. Just reminding yourself, oh, I've been there, done that.
Yeah, facing your fears is a good way to dissolve them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And again, the breathing is always such, just being able to think, okay, am I breathing properly? And then for me, the other thing is unconditional love, because love and fear can't reside simultaneously. So if you start feeling fearful, just send love to yourself. Just think of that time in your life when you were just totally felt loved or giving out love, and ground in that moment. Because if you're in that place of being in love, then fear can't exist, because they complete with each other energy wise. They're not in synchronicity. So if you're in a place of love, then the fear is not going to reside.
Well, and when you get into that love vibration, if there's something you're fearful about, sometimes you can actually manipulate the 3D world so that it's not even a threat anymore. That's another way to, I work from the premise too. If God is only good and God is love, then when something fearful shows up in my life that looks like it might be evil, no problem. Can overcome it. You just have to stand up to it and not let it take over, because it has no power if you don't give it any power.
I don't remember where
it can be tricky.
I don't remember where I heard this story, but I don't honestly remember where I heard it, but it basically happened where there was a group of young girls in Europe somewhere, and they, like, in their early teens, and they were taken from either orphanages, or they were found and they were abducted, and they were forced into prostitution. And the one young lady, the living standards were so bad, and what she had to do, she literally stood up to the guy and said, "Listen, I'm not going another day. Either you kill me right here, right now, or you let me walk." And the guy let her walk, and she's told her story on exactly what she went through. And all the other girls, when she was forced to do something and she said, "No, I'm not doing it." And sometimes the easiest way to stand up to fear is just to say no.
Yeah. It'll
right?
back down. Yeah.
Because that's the thing with fear, is that if it is a person or something that's happening and they're trying to do something, manipulate, coerce in any way, they think they have the upper hand on you. But as soon as you just say no, and you don't have to do it by yelling or screaming or getting in their face. If you just say, "No, I'm not going to participate in that," the vibrations that you're sending off is just so massive. And if you think about that young lady who is in that situation, who is like, "I'm not living another day like this. Either you kill me here now, or you let me walk."
Well, that could free the whole world if everybody just said no to things that are abhorrent or not, conducive to being a happy human. And there's a lot of that going on, but that's a good story too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was great. Really good insights into how to stand up to fear and dissolve it and nothingize it. And there's nothing to be afraid of once you understand that it's all in your head anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything is always in your head.
Exactly. And that's the interesting thing about living in this dimension, which I guess is just a dream.
Yeah. And, I was just thinking that for one of my clients that I've talked to, I hired him in my retail position for many years ago. One of the questions that may be helpful for you to answer that might help you get out of fear is, what are you waiting for? It is such a powerful question to ask yourself, especially when you're looking in the mirror. And if you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, what am I waiting for? I got to tell you, that shifts your thinking so fast. And because you don't know what you're waiting for. And sometimes it's just, and what I'll say is, maybe you're waiting to your next lifetime, or the time after that, or the time after that. Who knows? I don't know how it works. The only one that knows how it works is you. And if you're going to make a choice to make the change now, or if you just want to wait till next time. I watch people go through the most painful things that you can possibly imagine. I just ask the question, what are you waiting for? You ready to move on? No. Why do you want this pain in your life for right now? It's so painful, but yet you don't want to make a change. Why? Are you afraid? Are you fearful? What are you fearful of? What if you find something better? What if you find something 1,000 times better than what you're doing, and you actually start to live the life that you want instead of just what the life is being dictated to you? How awesome would that be? Start looking at all the positives of all the, what if this were to happen? So the exact opposite of the fear thing, that might instantly change things for you if you are fearful.
Well, and another thing too that I think is a really valuable piece of information, you don't have to go it alone. We are all coaches. And many times, if I'm really stuck, I'll call someone that I feel, can take a look at things from the outside, and bingo, it all shifts and you can solve a problem. Transformational coaching, spiritual coaching, theta healing, all the things that we do. What's that thing you do, Amanda? The code.
Emotion code.
Emotion code.
Yeah. And Adam's a life coach. I'm a life coach. And, people are out there. And I think now more than ever, if you're really feeling despondent or stuck or fearful about the future, you need to talk to people, and they're available. So with that, I think we'll say goodbye for now. And we will be back next Monday. We're here every Monday. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't come across our YouTube channel before. And give us some ideas on what kind of topics you're interested in. We talked about med beds one week, and that was very popular. You might have
we've got some big updates with med beds and things that we're investigating more into. So I think we're going to do some more topics around that.
Yeah.
And also we might have a way to make it a reality very soon. So stay tuned for that fun kind of information coming out if you're interested in that, or if you want some more information on that.
Great.